Well, here we go. Penultimate day of the 2022 European Fencing Championships here on the turquoise coast in Antalya, Turkey. And it's time for the men's team foil gold medal match. It's another encounter between France and Italy. Well, the stadium announcer is calling out the Italians. Here they come, Facconi, Marini, Garozzo, and the newbie into the team, Bianchi. He has performed this season through the circuit, but he's replaced Giorgio Avola, who finished in the top 8 in the individual tournament. But we have got 3 of the medalists. Garozzo is the new individual champion. He beat Marini in the final, and Facconi picked up the bronze medal. France line up with Chastenay, Loisel, and Idiri, with Sido in reserve. And our referees for this match, Willem Mada from the Czech Republic, with Jaroslav Mojski from Poland, the second referee on the floor. The assistants, Pavel Cella from Slovakia, and Fatih Güneş from Turkey, the host nation. So France, the #1 team in the world, taking on Italy. It's time for the team huddles. Not quite the same as we see with the Italian and French women's foil team, but high fives all around. Joining me in commentary tonight, I'm delighted yet again to say it's Richard Cruz, the former, well, no, you're never a former Olympian, the Olympian from Great Britain, former world #1.
That's right, Bash. I think if you're once an Olympian, you're always an Olympian. Well, thanks for the intro. And I think we've got a real treat ahead of us tonight, because this is the final of the men's foil event. And which way are you leaning?
Well, you look at the rankings, Facconi 4, Marini 3 in the world, Garozzo #2 in the world. France line up with number 45 in the world, Idiri, Loisel number 23 in the world, and Chastenay number 15. The world rankings suggest Italy and Garozzo here, the individual champion, are the ones to beat, right?
Absolutely. So even though on paper France are the #1 ranked team, Italy #2 in the world, if you look at the individual rankings, it would suggest that the Italian team is a lot stronger. And going off the individual results, well, what can you say? 4 in the top 8, almost 4 in the top 4. I'm inclined to say it's probably going to be one-way traffic to Italy, but I would like to see a very balanced match.
Yeah, we always do, don't we? I mean, we look at the lineup for the first match, and it is the individual champion, Daniele Garozzo, the Rio 2016 Olympic gold medalist, Tokyo 2020 Olympic silver medalist, and he goes up against Maximilien Chastenay of France. Time to get the gold medal match in the men's team foil event underway at the European Championships. Here we go. Garozzo against Chastenay. Richard Cruz, our expert analyst here tonight. Richard, Italy have got to be favourites, and Garozzo off with a beautiful octave flick to shoulder.
Absolutely. I can't see any team here beating Italy. I think it's going to be a bit of a whitewash, to be honest. But as I said, I always like to see a close match. So let's hope the French prove us wrong and manage to take them all the way to the end.
And it's a new French team, really, isn't it? We're losing some of the big
It is,
players.
and I think it's a surprising French team, because I believe one of the members of their team had COVID a few days before this championship, so had to be withdrawn.
Enzo Lefort?
Enzo Lefort, I think, is injured.
He's injured.
So
who was it that had that caught COVID and couldn't come here?
Good question.
I think it was Martin, Julien Martin, who
possibly.
Or it was either him or Pouty who had it. So they're not at full strength, but
Absolutely.
they made it through to the final.
Yeah, I believe Lefort's injured his Achilles, but he'll be back soon, but he's not here today. So it is a slightly different French team to what we're used to. And that's a lovely little counter to, well, stop hit by Garozzo.
If you're new to foil fencing, you'll see the silvery jackets. That's the valid target area. It's called a lame. And it's a weapon of convention. So the referee is here to decide who the attacking fencer is. There are 3 options if you're being attacked. That's get hit, which is obviously not the best idea. So the other 2 are what you want to try and do. Make your opponent miss by running away from the attack and making them miss with distance, or using your blade to block the attack. And if you do either of those last 2 things, it's your turn to attack.
That was Jaroslav Mojski. Quite a decent junior fencer from Poland. I remember I used to fence him back in the day in Gdansk, but that's going way back to the 90s. Good left-hander.
Crikey, even I was fencing back then.
I think we fenced each other, didn't we, Bash?
It might have done. I don't remember winning any fights. Oh dear. Chastanet going off the side of the piece. We talked about this the other day. Podium piece, which you've been on many times and won on many times. Are they a bit too narrow? Should it have a little lip?
Well, it's a little bit dangerous, isn't it? It's elevated a few feet off the floor. It means if you go off the edge, you can fall off. But I tell you that the worst type is when it's elevated only a few inches, because you can roll your ankle and not really realise you're going off the edge. Oh, and that's a lovely power riposte. The Italians are in control of this match.
Yeah, on a roll here. Beautiful cart parry, waiting for the moment to land the riposte as well. And I wonder if anyone's noticed that the Frenchman's mask clip has come off there. Looks like that has been reattached. The bottom of the mask is part of the valid target area now. Chastanet diving in with an attack on preparation off target. So if you hit off target and you have the ball, if you have the right of way, the fight starts again. Now they are well up for this, Richard.
Absolutely, they've come out firing, and that's a lovely attack. One light on the bib. So back in the day that wouldn't have scored, but with the modification to the rules, which is a good one, a good change by the FIE, that's the valid target. Of course, the mask isn't the valid target, and a lot of people ask me why. If the vital organs are the valid target, why isn't the mask? And I think the reason is tradition, safety. Back in the day, the masks weren't as strong as they are now. For reasons of safety, the mask was not included.
I didn't know that. But yeah, foil is a weapon that's derived from the training sword. Back when I was fencing, medieval times. And it was to train athletes to go for very specific targets, and as Richard said, the vital organs. So that's why we have a constrained target area. Danny Garozzo there just readjusting his mask to make sure that it fits his head. Now, it was a long time ago since I fenced, but it's not so long since you fenced. The mask is a really vital thing. If you have to change your own mask and borrow someone else's, it does make a difference to how you feel, right?
That's right. The mask is a very specific piece of fencing apparatus. It's very rare they fail, but occasionally they do. Maybe some of the rubber would come detached, or some fault with it, and you'd have to change it. Or, more likely, if your mask gets wet, it can light up.
That has happened here. But what has happened here for sure is that Danny Garozzo, the 2016 Olympic champion and now new European champion, has gone 5-0 up. The video was reviewed, and Jaroslav Mojski having a look at that, and he still gives it the way of the Italian. So a +5 start for Danny Garozzo, which means he has outscored his opponent by 5 points to 0, and Italy have got off to a flyer, Rich.
Absolutely, 5-0. Ideal start, and I think it's going to be quite a dominating match for Italy. Interestingly enough, Bash, walking around today, Ayoub Fajani, the Tunisian referee, came up to me, said he was listening.
He came up to me as well. I was
oh, did he?
Right.
Oh, right.
Go on, you
probably going to tell each other the same thing.
You tell us.
And he said he was listening to our commentary, and he thinks he can shed some light on one of our questions, which is, can the fights go higher than the marker? So could this fight start at 6-0 if a card was produced, if there was an infringement? And he seems to think it could do, but it can't go over 45. 45 is the cap.
Absolutely. more about that shortly. Second match here of 9, 3 fences on each side. So Loisel hits off target. 3 fences on each side. They all fence each other once. So 9 legs. It's a preordained order. Neither team knows which order the other one's going in. You have to do it blindly. But Facconi gets his first outing against Loisel, who is also on his first appearance. It's a young French team lacking the big names. Lefort, Pauty, Martin, none of them are here. So we have Idiri, Loisel and Chastenay with Sido for France in reserve. 24, 24, 25, 26, so very young compared to the Italian lineup, although Tommaso Marini, what a breakthrough season he's had. He's coming on next, and he's a firecracker to look after.
Absolutely, those stop hits from Marini and creeping forward, the direct lunge, very difficult to deal with.
But Facconi, well, you've said to me in the past, he is the form fencer. If you take a sort of 4-5 year view, he's been the most consistent.
I believe he was the most consistent over the last Olympic cycle. We used to have a joke that a bad day in the office for Facconi was still a bronze medal. Super athlete, you have to admit. Very well conditioned. Works very hard for the hits, but he gets them. That's a little counter-attack there, he just steps in and hides his back.
Re-establishing the 5-point lead for Facconi for Italy on the left, Loisel for France. Oh my goodness me.
Lovely parry riposte. Didn't seem that fast, but just incredibly well timed, and one light riposte, clear. Any predictions for the score at the end of the whole match?
Don't ask me.
I think, is it 45, 21, 22?
Oh my goodness, that's a big swing for Italy, isn't it?
And that's
Does
an
he pick
attack
up
from
the blade?
Facconi. Yeah, he picks the blades up and he hits the shoulder. 2 lights, but attack from the left.
So this is where right of convention comes in. You see that beat where the sword goes round in a clockwise direction, hits Loisel's blade at 7 o'clock and then flicks up onto the shoulder. Both the technique of picking up the blade and flicking on the shoulder, very, very difficult. Years of training to make that one happen.
In preparation, the attack from Facconi was off target. Bash, I've just realised there's no wager on tonight, is there?
There isn't tonight, no. We're not allowed to when it's our own weapon.
Ah.
The rules, FIE rules.
Yeah. So we broke them the other night?
No, it wasn't our weapon. We were talking about women's foil.
Oh, right.
I don't know about you, but I haven't fenced women's foil. And really, I think, to be fair, we both think that Italy are going to win this. I'm not sure it's going to be quite as one-sided. But at the moment, France are struggling. And the thing about this one is that the first 3 matches set the tone. If France haven't closed that gap up by a little bit, 7 points at the moment. If it's 7 points by the end of the 3rd match, how does confidence feel?
That's right, Bash. The first few matches really set the tone for the rest of the team match. And if you're trailing, it can be very difficult. You can dig yourself into a hole and you're going to be pushing. And of course, the other team can be very defensive and capitalise off of your mistakes. Post is good, so 9-1, just 1 more point to close out this second bout.
Yeah, and that's the thing, these cumulative scores are great. Well, that's a lovely attack.
Yeah, slight broken time attack there. Loisel just brought his arm back and delivered it through at the right time.
There you go, the arm coming back and then landing on the target. So making it very difficult to block with the blade.
The blade's hidden, so it's very difficult to block it, as you said.
Oh! Great conversation between the blades there.
And no hit scored because just a counter-attack off target.
On the shoulder?
I think it may have been on the arm. And of course they reset where they are on the piece, they don't go back unless a valid hit is scored.
It's dangerously close distance. Oh, brilliant stuff from Alessio Facconi, taking Italy to another brilliant lead, a 10-2 for them.
Lovely riposte and a little feint to the shoulder, but then finished on the chest. So that's a pretty commanding lead already.
First points on the board for France, but look at the gap. 8-point lead for Italy, the team to beat here right from the beginning of the day. Rich, got to ask you.
Anything, Bash.
Turkish wordle of the day?
Turkish word of the day. Do you want one?
Go on.
It's going to be your last one.
Oh, go on.
Have you learnt the last ones?
I know it meant sky. Gonna have to be quick.
Okay.
Are you going to save it? Are you going to save it?
I'll save it for the next one.
Save it. Here we go. Tommaso Marini of Italy on the breakthrough athlete of the season against Alexandre Idiri from France. Match number 3 of the gold.
Now, Idiri's probably been told to push Marini. Well, it didn't work there because he was parried, and then Marini delivered a very nice riposte at close quarters. Look, parry, and then close in to the chest.
Third leg of 9 in the gold medal match of the men's team foil at the 2022 European Championships here in Antalya.
Now Marini dropped his foil there. Did you notice that, Bash? He dropped his foil, but you still have the right to parry with your sword arm. Of course, you can't use your back arm, but you could still parry with your disarmed sword arm. So that's what fencers tend to do.
Oh, I mean, how on earth did he get that?
I think he's a bit of a genius, this boy, isn't he? I think we're going to see a lot more of him.
He really is. I mean, I said this the other day in the individual. This is the beginning of something new. And he seems to be a combination of sort of all the greats of the past 2 decades of Italian foil. Loads of shades of Cassara.
Physically, he looks like Cassara, maybe a little bit skinnier than Cassara. And then he glues to opponents like a Vola. Some flamboyance of Facconi. Yeah, you're right. But there, a little bit ambitious. He was a little bit too close and he tried to go for the shoulder, so the flick didn't land.
Merrick Clough there in the box for France. Go on, Rich.
See, at that moment, if I were Marini, I would have changed to Prime. I think that's all you can do, is you go for the shoulder, the distance closes, you have to change.
Well, we caught a snap of Durant, who's been coaching the French foil team throughout the competition, but we also saw Merrick Clough, and we talked about COVID. It has punctuated this season right at the beginning. It looks like we're back to something that we're used to as normal, but Merrick Clough didn't come out for the individual tournament because he got COVID just a couple of weeks ago. He arrived yesterday just for this match.
Just in the nick of time. And have you noticed, fencers don't always shake hands now. We're sort of into an intermediary stage. Sometimes it's a fist, sometimes it's a handshake, sometimes it's the elbow. A little tap with the sword. So hopefully we'll resume our etiquette of shaking hands, which is a staple of our sport.
Yeah, respect is a big thing in fencing. Go to battle with the mask on, shake hands afterwards with the mask off. Idiri's done enough here to slow Marini down a little bit, and he's got another point.
Yeah, that's right. He was parried. As the riposte came through, Idiri just closed him out, so lovely. And there's the coach shouting some advice. There's the parry, and look, the riposte comes in, but Idiri steals and blocks out afterwards. And that's a little stop hit there from Marini, and that's really his talent. He was hitting people all day with that today.
It's become a trademark, right?
Absolutely, absolutely effortless. And I think the French really need to respond in this bout if they're going to do anything.
Target score of 15, and we are just halfway through the third leg. Things looking very tricky for the French team here. Was that parry?
Now, what I spoke about earlier, I think he's just done. He looked at the shoulder, realised it wasn't on, so he then changed to the chest. But you see, he's made a little adjustment, not in prime, but in a very low cease position. I think that's what you've got to do. You go for the shoulder, the distance closes, you have to re-evaluate and go for the chest. Textbook stuff.
But we have seen him, he's so tall that he can reach right up over the back, can't he?
Like we were saying in the individual bash, he doesn't always flick, he sometimes just puts the point on because of his height.
Yeah, that's a good point, yes.
If you pardon the pun.
Yes, I didn't mean that.
Of course you did. And there you are, another stop hit again.
Just brilliant from Tommaso Marini. You're watching the evolution of a new superstar in fencing here. Yes, he's part of the team here, but I think this is, we're watching the beginning of a multi-medal winning athlete in Tommaso Marini.
Absolutely right. Just in the changeover, we are in Turkey, or as they say in Turkish, we are in Turkey. So it's time for your Turkish word.
Go for it.
Which is güvenlik.
Güvenlik.
Yeah.
Go on then.
Security. I learnt that on this trip.
No, why did you learn that? For what reason have you had to learn that word?
Because there is a lot of güvenlik here.
Nothing to do with you, I hope. We're into the fourth leg. Alessio Facconi up against Maximilien Chastanet of France.
I think that was the attack from Chastanet. I know Facconi's protesting that, but I'm not sure he really got enough on the blade to claim the pari riposte. I would stick with, well, they both went for the blade. I think the referee should stick to his guns there.
Well, he's in the middle. He's the one that's calling the shots. He's a lot closer to the action. How many times as a fencer, percentage-wise, would you have disagreed with the referee and called for a video, would you say?
I think it depended on how well I was fencing.
Yeah, exactly.
Some days when I was fencing well and my opponent was fencing well, we'd never use the video.
Yes,
Other days, you think everything's yours, and of course it isn't.
It's very difficult inside the mask. I've said a number of times in commentary on fencing that, if the referee never made a mistake, it would be very surprising. We look at Stefano Cerioni, the head of the Italian foil program. But, if a fencer never made a mistake, they win 15-0 every time, right? Or 5-0 every time. So you've got to allow for a referee to make the odd mistake.
And as we're judging the actions here, we're, of course, looking at it from a third-party perspective. When you're fencing, it's not so easy.
Exactly.
And this is some fantastic movement from Chastanet. Bronze medalist from the individual event. You know what, Bash? I think the reason we didn't see much fencing like this from Chastanet in the individual, I think the cramp was really impeding him.
It's been a big problem, hasn't it, here? The temperature's so hot. I think it's today 37 degrees.
Is that right?
Outside it was at the height. Willem Mada from the Czech Republic in that control of the fight. One of the greatest referees on the circuit in foil, and one of the greatest fencers with one of the greatest coaches.
Absolutely. Cerioni's had a fantastic championships, hasn't he?
Yeah, not done bad in his first full year. But Mericlo there on the right-hand side, calling for the video replay. He was the one that flew out just for this competition, having had a COVID, and made it out there just in time.
I always get the feeling that Willem Mada is about to pull a card out, but really he's just tucking his shirt in.
Tucking his shirt in and turning his mic back on, because when they go to the video, they have to turn their mics off so no one else can hear what they're saying.
There you are, Bash. You've taught me something.
It's about time, isn't it? I did teach you paddleboarding, but on a very flat...
Oh, yeah, we went paddleboarding in Torquay, didn't we?
Torbados.
Yeah.
So what are you calling there? Was the blade picked up?
Or was it preparation?
Yeah. And one thing I have noticed is the Italians are doing a bit of...
Oh, look at that. You see, Facconi just had his blade found at a slightly unexpected time. Wasn't quite balanced. And look, lamb to the slaughter because he was up on his stance. So, lovely first moment. Beat direct from Chastanet.
Yeah, so... If fencing is something that you're not familiar with, this crouch position is like a coiled spring. It's potential energy ready to launch. And as soon as you stand up, you lose that potential.
Yeah, that's right, and you lose the balance as well, so it's hard to sometimes return fire. You may parry, but you'd be up in your stance and you can't hit back. Hence why fencers have to sit down low. And again, look at the leg strength of these athletes. Superb athletes.
Oh, that is a beauty of a hit.
And it's just what the French team needs. They're starting to close the gap. Still have a lot of work to do.
One fencer on the piste and the 3 other fencers in the box with potentially 2 other coaches. And I've noticed that Italy is switching around their 2 coaches. At the moment, it's Cerioni, the head coach, with Facconi's personal coach, Filippo Romagnoli. There is Cerioni. One away from the target score, and there it is, a parry riposte for Alessio Facconi. A round of applause from Stefano Cerioni, and well, Rich, you said this was going to be a one-way battle. It's very much looking that way. 5-3 Facconi.
Absolutely, I don't think the French can get back into this, but hopefully we'll be proved wrong, because we do want to see a close match.
Maximilian Chastanet coming out of that second of his matches of 3 with a -7 indicated. It means he's scored, or his opponents have scored 7 more hits against him than he has. Will the French be thinking about bringing on the reserve Sido?
I don't think so. He had a 5-0 defeat, but then I think he made up for it in that bout. He lost -2 to Facconi, but I dare say he brought a lot of energy to the match. So if I were Emeric Kloss, I think I'd leave him on.
Into the 5th leg of the men's team 4 gold medal match, and it's the reigning European individual champion Daniele Garozzo who gets Italy off the mark, and they are absolutely mastering this one. Richard, in the early stages, and for those of you that may have just joined us, it's Richard Cruz here, former world #1 from Great Britain. How many Olympics did you do? 6, 7, 8, 12?
3.5.
4 Olympics for Richard Cruz. So a real expert here. When you look at this fight, and you look at Italy as through your career as a fencer and now as a coach for the British team, the conveyor belt of foilists that they produce, men's and women's, it is phenomenal. What is it? What's the magic Italian dust?
I think it's well, you know, in France and Italy, they've won more medals in fencing than any other sport. So it's their sport. It's a massive sport in their
national
country.
sport in both countries still.
Absolutely. So whereas we have, you know, cycling, we have rowing
in Great Britain.
In Great Britain, absolutely. Fencing is the one that makes the medals in France and Italy. And then, of course, the Olympic champions come and feed that information back through. And I always think if you want a successful team, you really have to have depth in the squad. If someone's injured or off form, they can put in number 5, number 6, and other teams don't have that luxury.
And, well, let's just... we're still in the early stages, a halfway stage of this match. Looking at Great Britain, and you're now, having retired as an athlete just recently, you're now in the British camp, you're in the box straight away with the team. Is that part of the sort of passing on of knowledge within Great Britain that you feel that you're now adding to that British team?
Yeah, absolutely. British fencing is trying to sort of groom its new generation of coaches, and they're trying to get me and Keith Cook, and I think Ben Peggs is on the radar. I know he's still an active athlete, but he's going to retire either this year or in the next few years, and I think they'd like him to be a coach. Pavel Osmansky, not British, but works in Britain, and they're trying to get a cohort of us to look after the British team and pass our knowledge on. And I think that's one thing that British fencing was lacking up until now, so I think it's a good move.
And Johnny Davis as well, of course.
Yeah, Johnny Davis.
Foil, and indeed the development programme within Great Britain, a double Olympian himself.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what the sport needed, the old generation to feed back in, give their experience, and then hopefully we can copy a model somewhat watered-down model of the French and Italians.
Well, I think it's creating a British model by the sound of things. It's what the Americans did, it's what the Koreans did, it's what the Chinese did. So it has worked elsewhere. And at the moment, for us, it's great that you're here, you're able to talk to us. But with that, following that model of development using the knowledge from the past, I fancy that you and the British team may well be here on the podium.
Well, fingers crossed, Bash. We'll see what we can do. Today, the British team put in a good show. They really fought hard, but I'm afraid there was a bit of daylight between the Brits and the Italians. But to be honest, I don't see anyone beating the Italians today.
There's a bit of daylight between Italians and everyone else here in this competition as things stand. Of course, everyone isn't here. We won't go too deeply into that, but the French are the #1 team in the world, but they're ranked based on a previous team. They're ranked based on experience elsewhere. This is a new, young team. And of course, the French are looking forwards towards Paris 2024, where Olympic qualification begins in April next year. That is a beauty.
Just to jump in there, Bash, and I think this is a pretty decent leg from Adiri. He inherited a score of 8. He's already scored 4 points.
That hit there, though. He got the stop hit, I think it's called, and then a block as well.
Absolutely. Stop it. He still has to block it because Gorozzo has the right of way. He still has the right to finish his attack. So in effect, Adiri's hitting out of turn. It's breaking the convention, which is okay, but you still have to cover up afterwards. And this is a pretty decent leg from the French.
Still 9 points behind, but 1 minute 35 odd seconds left to go in the leg. And it's still off target, right of way. The basketball is in the hands of Adiri. Only he can shoot at the hoop. Misses it, but no damage done.
Now let's see if this leg is a game changer for the French. Can sometimes change the dynamic a little bit if one of your members brings this kind of energy to a bout. Still 1.5 minutes left, so plenty of time. This one's up to 25. Oh, lovely attack from Gorozzo. Just creeps forwards, very controlled, very balanced.
Drawing the counter-attack.
Drawing the counter-attack, see there, but he's already started. He controlled his preparation and just goes into distance and hits. And that's why he's an Olympic champion, almost a double Olympic champion, actually.
It's close, isn't it? Chun Ka-long from Hong Kong, surprising everyone with his, well, a fairly new tactic to win the last Olympic Games, but Danny Gorozzo taking silver.
You say he surprised everyone. Did I tell you I put £1 on him?
Oh, no, please. What odds did you get?
Well, we had a little meal, a few of us. I mean, interesting enough, we went to a Uyghur restaurant a few weeks before, and someone, I think it was Tofalides, had spotted that a few people were 75 to 1. Chupanich, Chun Ka-long. The bookmakers hadn't calculated the odds properly. But by the time I got to the betting shop, I think they smelt that people were putting money on, so they reduced it to 66 to 1. So £1 on, I've got my stake back and £66. Why didn't I put more on? You can see how that could be addictive.
Oh, goodness me. Thank goodness there's no gambling in fencing just yet. Well, not serious gambling anyway. I'm David King, and this is Alex Tofalides in the commentary box. Richard Cruz, I'm sure you're pulling my leg.
Absolutely, Bash. I wouldn't partake in that.
Not allowed. Not allowed. Fifth leg here in the men's team foil gold medal match. Daniele Gorozzo of Italy, 22-13 up against Alexandre Adiri of France. The Italians are world #2 in ranking, France world #1. But this is a very different French team to the one that claimed that top seed in the world. Italy have gold, silver and bronze medalist in their lineup, and the referee calling that attack on preparation.
Now Gorozzo's challenging that because he thought he was creeping forward like usual and that he finished the attack, but there is a little pause there, and you know what? I'm inclined to agree with the referee. I don't think there's going to be a change because I saw a pause. And if Adiri gets this point, then he will be 6-2 up in this bout. Jaroslav Moyski about to make the call.
Sticks with his call, as you predicted.
And good call from Mr. Moyski.
Cześć.
Cześć, jak się masz?
Multilingual, Richard Cruz in the commentary box, but here for your expertise, not for your linguistic talents.
And that's the riposte from Garozzo. So Adiri has 33 seconds left.
French coach
Doesn't really want to concede more.
French coach is looking perturbed, I think is probably the word. How do you contain the whirlwind force of Italy?
Oh, now look how late that finish was from Garozzo. I thought it was a one light hit. I think Adiri thought it was a one light hit, and then all of a sudden Garozzo puts his point on. Look how late that was, but still valid.
Big disengage from the cart line into the cease line.
Now we spoke a bit of Polish earlier, and I hear the Polish team have won the bronze medal in this tournament.
They have. They dominated the bronze medal match against Spain. They look very good, and take your hat off to Leszek Rajski, the 38-year-old, who was a very, very big factor in that win. And looks like Alexander Adiri is going to be a big factor if France are going to get themselves back into this match.
He's just scored another point, so absolutely fantastic leg from Adiri. It's still going on. And attack is given in preparation. And that was a flesh.
I think the start of the flesh as well was enough. I thought that Garozzo actually had the right of way, but the flesh made him stop.
I think Garozzo was bouncing upwards, not forwards. So I would say preparation. And the flesh is the running attack.
The arrow.
In French.
Time runs out in this leg, and Adiri not only has scored himself 8 hits, but he has done it with he's put he's put time into this now. I know it's only 1 hit away from the target score of 25, but time now could play a factor into this.
Absolutely, and we're only just over halfway. There's still 4 more bouts to go, and France are trailing by 8 hits. Now, I think the key in this moment is to not get on and think you have to make up 8 hits in one go.
Exactly.
You just need to do +1, +2, +3. If you're consistent about it, you can make up the difference. If you try and make it all up in one go, it can be a bit overwhelming and you can cede more ground.
Closing the gap is what it's all about, not the target score, which in this leg is 30 points. Doesn't matter that we haven't got to 25, it's an accumulator in team fencing, so they are both going after 30. Leg number 6 of the men's team foil gold medal match here in Antalya, Turkey at the 2022 European Fencing Championships. Italy, as perhaps many predicted, are miles ahead as we go through the halfway stage. This is an all-important match for Lascelles.
That's the attack from the Frenchman. 1 apiece in this leg. And it looks like Marini's stop hits are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. It looks like Lascelles is managing to get a light on each time he attacks.
Staying at very close distance as well, which I think is a tactic that might work against Marini.
Yeah, I think so. You certainly don't want to attack him from too long a range, not in the middle of the piece. That's it, no hit scored. Of course, when the fences are closed, it's in effect a stalemate. The referee will call halt and then reset them. Oh, now. Did Lascelles duck his head? I saw a slight rotation of the mast. So even though it's one light to Lascelles, could be an infringement of the rules, and I think he acknowledges it as well.
Good shout, Rich. Yellow card. Just a slap on the wrist. Does it again, or any other kind of infringement, and it will be a point to Marini. There's a bit of containment going on here, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly badgering Marini. He's been told to push. Of course, what other option do the French have at this moment?
But he's pushing, like you said, not taking too many risks. Well, there's an unprepared attack which didn't work out. We've got to be very careful about it. I think Marini will be ready for that. And then Mericlo standing up in the box saying, don't go wasting this. You're doing well. What do you think? 3 hits in this fight for Lascelles would be enough?
I think +3 would be enough. So that's the difference between hits scored and hits received. And that's going to be frustrating for Lascelles because he did a parry riposte. Thought he'd scored, but seemed to miss. Now, was there any head in that? I don't think so. I think Marini would be unlucky to get a card for that. What do you think, Bash?
Having a look at it, I'm with you, really. I don't think there's a need, but Mericlo and Durant, we look down the other end as soon as we see the French coaches to see Cerioni, and we actually caught a glimpse there of Danny Garozzo, no card given. We see Danny Garozzo with an ice pack on his head. That's how much work these guys are doing and how hot it has been here.
It's been absolutely sweltering, and look, Lascelles complaining, but I don't think there was much head in that. Certainly not as much as his infringement in the previous few phrases. Oh! And I thought he had landed that, but one light to Marini.
It's been very calm, Stefano Cerioni, and we can see why when Marini lands a casual stop hit like that, but then a closing counter.
Absolutely, came a little bit too close there. And Lascelles scores with a counter-attack. Still 8 hits the difference.
Close. Came in 8 points down, the French. Still 8 points down, so no net gain or loss for France. I could argue they're stopping the rot, potentially.
Lascelles attempts a cart flick shoulder there, but gets the timing wrong and the distance wrong, and look, it's a mal parry, it goes straight through.
First riposte land there?
I don't think it did. I don't think the first riposte landed, but I think it was a remise. Let's have another look at the slow motion. Oh, maybe it did.
Yeah, maybe. It's the angles he comes at are quite strange, Marini, aren't
I think
they?
you're right, Bash, yeah. Both fencers a little bit tentative, just hitting from out of range. That's why you're seeing the white light.
Close quarters. He's, for a tall man, Marini is exceptionally good in close quarters.
Absolutely. For tall people, usually close in is where they're vulnerable, but not Marini. He's been well trained.
Well, just turned into a bit of a scrap here, which in some respects is good for France. They're slowing the Italians down, but the thing is, they're not closing the gap. And bit by bit, the Italians are grinding out. Yet again, we're talking about the Italians grinding out another win. Getting the lead, and then just closing it off bit by bit, and frustrating their opponents.
Absolutely, he's not closing the gap. In fact, he's lost ground in this leg. Obviously, it's still going on, but advantage is really with the Italians now.
dominant performance from the Italian trio. Well, that was close. Nice little hit there, I think. Just off target.
Ooh. Marini starts to dominate the blade, but doesn't do anything with it. So Lascelles capitalises, hits and blocks. Not following the convention, but he blocks the continuation from Marini, so scores the point.
Starting to see a bit of frustration now from Pierre Lascelles.
Oh, look at that attack. Uncontested. It's just that the other fencer doesn't register when Marini's in distance.
Well, it's been an incredible performance from the Italian team so far. I've got to say, I thought Lascelles did really well at the beginning of that, but then the typical Italian approach to these things when you're leading, grinding it out to see it through, and ultimately building the lead.
Absolutely. The Italians made a little bit of headway there, perhaps +3 in that bout. So the French, as we approach the last 3 bouts, each fencer in both teams is going to get 1 more bout. And the French really have to make a move now.
Do you think the French are going to think about any kind of substitution here?
I don't think so. What do you reckon, Bash?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I look at these matches and I think the same as you, that they're going to stick with the big guns. But Sido sitting on the bench, I mean, is it not worth taking a gamble?
Personally, I think not at this stage, because I don't think anyone's had a disastrous match, apart from the 5-0 opener from Chastenay, but that wasn't punished with a replacement in the team. So I think the coach is going to stick to his team.
Well, we're at the start of the 7th of 9 legs, just 3 to go, including this one. Idiri hitting with a stop hit, and now they're going to test that white jacket because...
Ooh, and it comes up on target.
So we talked about this earlier on. This is the white jacket should not come up with a coloured light. It should come up with a white light off target. You're not allowed to score on that. Now, the big thing here is that sweat in these hot conditions can allow the valid scoring target area to spread across the non-valid area. Do you think that's what's happened here?
That's exactly what's happened. The salt in the sweat is conductive, and because it's such grueling conditions to fence in, Facconi, look, he's dripping with sweat, his jacket's drenched, and now he has to change it because it's been lighting up. Well, I'll tell you what, Bash.
Go on.
I'm actually pleased there's a little break, because I've got a story for you.
Oh, go on then.
Regarding Turkey.
Okay.
On the BBC News.
Okay.
Apparently...
I'm slightly scared where you might be going with this.
Bash, you know to trust me, don't you? Apparently Turkey isn't happy that we call Turkey Turkey in English. Have you heard about that?
Yes, I have heard about this. So they have changed their national name, or the nation's name, to Turkiye, and apparently with the 3 letters that we see on the left, ITA and FRA, for Turkey it should be TU with 2 dots above and an R.
Well, they haven't actually changed. Turkiye was always the name of Turkey in the Turkish language, but they want that to be the name of Turkey in the English language.
Right.
I'll tell you what, get my vote.
Well, at the moment, it hasn't got everyone's vote, because we had a discussion about this before the event, and I hate to say this, but it takes a little bit of planning to change the software to say TU double dots R on our software. So it's nothing against the Turkish that we haven't done this in their host nation. It's just it's a little bit tricky without some warning.
And do you know the reason they didn't like being called Turkey?
Go on then.
It was the association with the bird.
Yeah, no, you're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
You are.
You opened BBC News. It was on there a few weeks ago.
I'm afraid I don't have time to do that right now, but I've known you for some time now, and sometimes I'm afraid I just don't believe you.
Probably quite wise, Bash. So there you are. See, Falcone's team went to get him another jacket. It's not customary to have another jacket by the side of the piece because this is quite a rare event that your jacket will light up. So you do have permission to have maybe a member of your team leave the piste, go to the bag, source another jacket, and then you can resume.
Yeah, so he's getting a wipe down as well with a towel. We saw this with Hungary the other day as well. They had to change, I think, 3 masks, and in the end had to go and buy a brand new mask because the mask was coming up, and in the sort of the insulated metal area was coming up on target. So these things do happen in hot conditions.
And of course, it can reset the momentum. I remember when James Davis won the European Championships in 2014, he was losing against Cheremisinov. His breeches then lit up. There was a little delay to try and find him another set of breeches.
Lignano?
No, Strasbourg.
Strasbourg, yes, you're right. Yeah.
And then
it was you in Lignano that had and you were fencing a Russian who had to stop for the same reason, I think, wasn't it?
Oh, God, yeah. I think we were fencing in a tent back then. It was about 50 degrees. People were passing out. Well, people had ice packs on their head, just like Garozzo had. It's a good technique to cool down.
Does happen.
Does happen. They've tested the jackets. All seems in order.
Yeah, we get back underway. Italy leading 30-20 over France in the men's team foil gold medal match here at the European Championships of 2022. You're listening to the expert analyst Richard Cruz in the commentary box here.
Slightly tentative start. Little attack from out of range, lands off target on the arm.
So the break in the fight, the momentum has changed potentially, but Falcone, sharp cookie.
Absolutely. You have to respond to this change in the conditions of the fight, and Ndiri has launched an attack with a one-light hit.
So picks up the blade with this sort of, it's a kind of strange circular cease, isn't it? It's almost like a coupe hit.
Yeah, it's a circular cease through the blade and then launched an attack at the chest. And now the difference is under 10 hits. So the French are getting a little bit closer than they've been.
First time in a while.
Absolutely. Only up to 45, remember. So we're running out of bouts. It's only this one, 2 more.
Target score in this 7th leg is 35 hits, but Alessio Falcone only just scoring his first hit there. Willem Madder.
Oh, look, he just brings his arm back. Ndiri brings the arm back, and in that moment, in that tempo, Falcone launches the attack, and that's why he scored that hit.
France are trying to make a bit of a stab of this, aren't they? I mean, like, the start was difficult for them. 5-0 and then a 5-2, 5-3 in the first 3 legs. It was always going to be a mountain to climb from that point on, but they are still fighting.
They are still fighting. I mean, it's the final of the European Championships. All's to play for. They are certainly in this, but now 11 hits the difference. Be hard to see them coming back from here, but you know, stranger things have happened.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it will be incredibly difficult. I mean, there's no sign that either team are going to make a substitution here. You can't see Cerioni bringing on Bianchi. He has fenced today, actually, to be fair. So he's played his part in this medal.
Absolutely, and of course, all members of the team get medals, whether they fence or not.
Ooh. Just stepping in time there as well.
Absolutely. The attack's parried. As Ndiri comes forward, Alessio Falcone finds his blade. It has the right to make the riposte, which he does. On the shoulder, look, and this is a flick hit. You notice how he stops his wrist, and he's using the principle of a whip to whip the foil blade round and hit him on the back. As you said, very skillful to do.
Yeah, big teams in this championship. There's a number of things with foil that I've seen in these championships. The attack on preparation, which you've talked about throughout this tournament, but the distance is a lot closer, and the athletes using different angles to come in at.
Yeah, I have to say the close quarters work in this championships has been superb. It looks like the coaches have been working on it. Always good to be able to fight close in.
Yeah, but do you think that is because the fencers... I think one of the things that I've noticed since we've started to return to fencing, and perhaps I noticed it most in Tokyo, was that the development of the sport has happened in little silos because we've not been fencing against each other. And so you've seen different developments in different areas, and they've all come together in Tokyo, and now through the season, we've seen a little more sharing of that information, not deliberately, but because the fencers are fencing each other more often.
And Adiri just challenges there. Was it a pressing attack from Facconi, or did he break the time?
Well, what's your call? Get a replay.
I think it's a pressing attack from the left, actually, if I'm honest with you, but Villamada comes back.
He agrees with you as well. 35 plays 23. And, well, the gap just keeps opening up. But, Rich, I've got to ask you again, do you think that development is going to go through?
Well, COVID was a huge spanner in the works because different countries, well, it's an understatement, isn't it? Different countries had different regulations. Some countries were in full lockdowns, others carried on. So we didn't actually know what was happening. So some countries started competing, but only nationally. Some went to internationals, but in the area.
Yeah.
So you're right. It really has changed it. I mean, it skewed the whole ranking. Let's be fair. This year is really re-establishing the ranking, and I think next season we'll be back to normal.
Well, we're into the penultimate leg of this men's team foil gold medal match. Tommaso Marini on for Italy. Maximilian Chastanet on for France. Italy leading 36-23.
Typical Marini, creeps up, launches an attack. One light. And fencers are really struggling to deal with this.
He is the breakthrough athlete of the season. Chastanet, though, says, really? I don't think so. I'm going to come after you. Lands an attack of his own. But the performance from Marini this season has been absolutely astronomical. We really haven't seen anyone come through like him for, well, obviously for 2 years, but I think for at least one Olympic cycle. His performances have just been phenomenal.
Absolutely, and that's why it was so good to see Marini versus Garozzo.
Yeah.
Sort of old versus new.
Yes.
And how it would, how things would
29.
match up. It was a superb final, wasn't it? I think Marini's deceptive. That's how I'd describe him. He's deceptive. People just don't realise how he can hit from these bizarre angles. He can hit from seemingly out of range. It's going to take a few seasons, or maybe one season, for the athletes to adapt to this.
Yeah, he gets a target on his back, I think, after this season, doesn't he? And people will be looking at videos and analysing what he does. But winning his first World Cup in Belgrade in April, getting a bronze at the next World Cup in Plovdiv, winning his first Grand Prix in Incheon at the end of the season.
And again, just creeps forwards. One light, absolutely classical fencing, wonderful to see. But like you said, Bash, there's going to be a camera on him now.
Yeah.
You get one season for free.
Yeah.
If it's a good season, everyone's going to be watching you, so you can't rest on your laurels.
Parriposte fails, counter-riposte from Maximilian Chastanet. That's a classy hit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have expected Marini to put that one to bed, but he didn't. And one light to Chastanet. And both go for the blade. I have to say, therefore, attack good to Chastanet. So remember, in foil fencing, if you both go for the blade, they favour the attacker, the one moving forwards. You see, they both go to the blade. So attack good from the right, and that's what was called. Is that going to be the decision after the video review?
It's got to be, hasn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Great referee, Villamada, calling the hit. One away from the target score of 40. Tries the little stop hit, but that's Chastanet's attack off target.
And the riposte is off target there. Just clipped his knee on the way in, so no hit scored. Same again, edges forwards. This man is a very dangerous fencer. You know, Bash, I have to say, we've really had a good time over this last 5-day...
I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
I think we've really bonded. I feel like we're brothers.
Were we not bonded before?
We were bonded before.
Semi-bonded.
Yeah, I think we're brothers. Well, maybe half brothers to account for the difference in, you know, looks, whatever. But
Are you trying to say you're more attractive than me? I mean, you've got everything else. You've got the medals. You've got the patter in the commentary box, and now you're trying to say you're more good-looking.
oh, you've got the house in Torquay,
Oh well, that's true. Torbados, indeed.
overlooking the English Riviera.
So he is saying he's more good-looking than me. I'm not sure he's going to get invited back, despite the bonding he thinks has happened here. But we're in the 9th leg of the gold medal match of the men's team foil competition at the European Fencing Championships of 2022. Italy leading 40-26.
Oh, and straight through from Lascelles. Well, he has to push. He has no choice.
None whatsoever.
He's got to take this to Garozzo in this last bout. And, of course, with that comes risk.
So the individual champion, Garozzo, on the left, looking to double up on the gold medal he scored a couple of nights ago.
Oh, and a lovely counter-attack. Quite rare to see Garozzo hit with that. Usually Garozzo will have the control over the distance and the balance to finish, but not this time.
Very good replay of that counter-action and closing the distance to stop from Garozzo's point from being a threat.
And that's the attack from the right, and I have to say I agree with that. Lascelles just edged forwards, and he's got off to a good start, I have to say. But I just feel there's too much to do in this bout.
He came in 14 hit deficit. It's closed them up by 3. Oh, this is a moment to take a breath. You can't do this, surely. This would be the comeback in the history of fencing, wouldn't it?
I think it would be. Absolutely dream start, 4-0. And look, is Garozzo trying to take a little break? Maybe a little change of foil.
He's listening to Stefano Cerioni as well, who's barking out the orders, saying, hey, come on, can we wake up and get this one done and dusted? Get a good look at the grip, the pistol grip as it's known. As your hand holds the weapon, it looks like you're holding a gun. It gives you good, minute movements in the blade, which is what foilists really do look for.
Yes, of course, not many people use the French grip these days. Maybe a little bit in épée. Let's see how that resets the momentum, that little pause in the fight.
Distance looks like it's just opened up a little bit from Garozzo.
And that's a parry riposte from the left. Garozzo parried, flick round the back. So the break's done him good.
He started from a little bit further out this time and stepping in to draw the attack and then stepping away to find the parry riposte.
Absolutely, and you notice how Garozzo hits to the back but still covers the next shot. Just in case you miss that one to the back, you're still trying to protect your chest. And this is good stuff from Lascelles.
Yeah,
high tempo, pushing the match forwards.
Very close as well to landing an on-target hit, just hitting off target. Pressing at this close distance, Garozzo may want to think about getting back out again. This is the distance he prefers to work at, and it's worked out again. 3 away from the European title.
I think the referee did well there to let them fight out at close quarters. Some refs would call halt early, but not here. And a bit of a scrap there. But one light to the Frenchman in the end. Well, I said 21 at the beginning of the match against the French team. It was already 31, so they have put up a valiant effort.
Just not enough, though. They haven't got the quality now. Who meets the blade last?
I think the referee believes they both do, and hence the attacker has the priority. Dani Garozzo doesn't agree with the call, but there's no video review.
The French won this title back in Düsseldorf in 2019, the last time these European Championships were held. Close quarters. Garozzo loses his weapon.
Like I said earlier, you still have the right to parry with your sword arm, even if you're disarmed, and that's what Garozzo did. So no use standing there like a sitting duck. You can still cover up with your sword arm. You can't use the other arm, of course. And when you're disarmed, your opponent only gets one go.
Yeah, the Italians in Düsseldorf in 2019, the last time these championships were held, just 3 years ago. Well, 3 years ago, a long 3 years ago. Italy only picked up a bronze medal, losing out to Germany, the host nation, in the semi-final. France went on to win the title against Germany. But Italy now looking strong to regain the men's foil team European title. So it looks like a broken body wire here for Dani Garozzo, and another
breather.
Another breather.
That's for sure, yeah, so a broken body wire. That means he can either take his kit off, change it, or he can clip one to the other and feed it through.
Yeah, that's what most people do, isn't it, these days? Whip it through the jacket.
Let's see what he does.
Alessio Facconi there stepping in to help out, but in the end it's Fatih Güneş, the Turkish assistant referee, who's controlling the changeover. To try and stop any sort of secret messages being passed through, perhaps?
Yeah, of course. You can change your body wire, you can change your foil, but you're not really supposed to get coaching in that time. So some fencers and their coaches try and have a little dialogue, but it's not really allowed.
Yeah, many times you see people get away with it, though.
It's hard to enforce, isn't it?
There's an argument that you should just let it happen. But the problem I think you find is that whilst the fencing's going on, some coaches don't quite understand that you should just let the fencing go on.
Absolutely, you always get coaches shouting support and giving advice.
Last leg of the men's team foil gold medal match at the European Championships of 2022 in Antalya, Turkey. Vilamada.
Just trying to remember where they were.
Referee.
It's not in the middle of the piece, it's down Dani Garozzo's end, and they reset the match there. And the same tactics apply. Lascelles has to push forwards. Nothing to lose at this stage.
Halfway through the last leg, though, he's done well. 6 hits to 2, but it's not enough, is it, really? There's a long way to go for them to really be a threat to Italy.
Still a minute and a half left, and he reduces the deficit to 9. But surely not Bash. Surely not.
Like I say, it'll be the comeback of all time in the history of fencing, I think, if the French were able to turn this around. And not just the scoreline, but against such a strong Italian team. They're right back where they used to be the team to beat.
Dani Garozzo's hitting the blade hard. Even hit the piece during one of those parries. Really putting a lot of dominant pressure on.
And killing time.
Killing time, active in his defence.
Now, What are they looking for here? Video replay has been called. Has there been a use of the backhand, maybe? I didn't see it. I'll chat with the coach for Garozzo. Card is
coming out.
And it's a red one.
And what's happened?
Is that use of the backhand?
Haven't got the foggiest.
No, I didn't see any infringement there. It would be interesting to speak to Villamada after that. Red card is, well, actually, it's a second yellow, potentially, not just a straight red. It could be covering.
Oh, and a bit of contact there. There's always a danger when you get to close quarters, when one fencer goes to Prem. Oh, and the card's coming out. Another red.
Covering this time.
Covering, but I am personally on Garozzo's side here. He's angry. He's been hit in the face by the wrist or the forearm of the Frenchman. Look, as he goes to Prem, there's a bit of contact. Just here coming up, bang.
Oh, yeah,
and you're not allowed to do that. It's always it's nothing malicious, but you're not allowed to do that. It's going for Prem at close quarters. Cerioni.
Oh, it wasn't a fist, it was an elbow.
It was the forearm, wasn't it? The elbow. So strange to see Garozzo penalised.
Well, now they're coming to look at the video. This will be interesting to see how this one's turned around. So, we're not finishing things off quite yet here.
God, what an end, eh? It's the theatre.
The drama in Antalya, Turkey.
Of course, what everyone's talking about. Have you seen the hit in the African Championships? The end of the African Championships?
I haven't seen that yet. No, I've heard about it, but I've been a bit busy.
Yeah, of course, you've been commentating. Yeah, there was a 14-all between El Sayed and Hamza. And there was a bit of a collision. I won't ruin it for you. You can watch it after. It's a bit of a collision. And one of them goes to hospital for a concussion.
Wow.
Yeah. So everyone's been talking about that, showing that on the phone, seeing what people think.
Wow. There you go. Two Egyptians going up against each other in the final in the African Championships. All the zonal championships taking place right now. The Asian Championships is concluded. I think the Pan Americans is quite close to finishing. This is the last one. And after this, just a few weeks to wait for the World Championships in Cairo, Egypt. Home of Sayed and Hamza.
This fight is unbelievably close, considering where we were a few bouts ago. 7 the difference.
Yeah, 1 minute 8 seconds left on the clock. Can Rizal get back into this? 7 hits in 1 minute? Very possible.
I'm beginning to think it could be.
Oh,
and there's one of them.
Oh, here we go. Pierre Loisel has come on. 40-26 down, 14 adrift. And right now, the difference is just 6 points. This is an incredible performance from the young Frenchman, just 24 years old, the world number 23, up against Danny Garozzo, the world number 2.
The score is already 10-2 in this bout. To say, oh, Garozzo showing his class, coming through. An amazing leg from Lascelles.
Stefano Cerioni, the Italian coach, out of his box in more ways than one. Standing up in the technical area known as the box, I should say. Just to clarify that. One single light on the box.
Now this is potentially known as a bounce out. Look, you see how Danny Garozzo is showing his foils bent? He can give it to the referee to try and test the tip. But look, there was definitely a hit. And sometimes it's just a freak of the game. You hit square in the chest, but nothing comes up. And what an awkward time to have a bounce out.
6 points in this one now. And Loisel may be tasting gold here. 2 away though for Danny Garozzo, individual champion. First riposte for me is given by Villamada. So did he actually say first riposte no, and then
second riposte no?
Did he really say second riposte no?
I think he did, but they're going for a review.
It looked like the first one from Garozzo was definitely no. So the referee said then, Loisel, didn't pick up his opportunity to strike. He had the right of way, he had the ball, he had a shot at goal, and he missed.
Which then gives the ball to Garozzo, and that's what the referee called, but they're just going to check. Villamada and his assistant.
Yeah, that's Moisky looking at the video. Referee's back, turns his mic back on.
I always thought he was tucking his shirt in, Bash.
And
the call stands. So 44-37, and
just one more to go for Italy now. And can they do it? Off target for the attack from the Italian on the left. Can they regain the European title in men's team foil here in Antalya? Individual champion Danny Garozzo goes for the parry riposte. I think he finds the parry.
I think he finds it, but possibly a mal parry. Nevertheless, one light from the right, and the fences reset.
Oh, now are we having a change of mask here?
Oh, we've seen it all, haven't we, Bash?
It's been everything here tonight.
Change of jacket, change of body wire, change of mask.
Do they not know you've got a 6 AM transfer to the airport? Incredible action here in the Antalya International Sports Hall in beautiful town of Antalya on the turquoise coast in Turkey, and we are seeing a beautiful performance, in particular in this last bout from Pierre Loisel. 14 hits down coming into this final leg of the men's team foil gold medal match, and he's got himself back in touching distance, but Garozzo here 1 point away from securing the gold medal, and the jacket is tested and comes up with a coloured light. So Danny Garozzo is going to have to change his jacket, the same as Alessio Facconi. We are going to have this gold medal match stretched out just this little bit longer, just to keep Richard Cruz in the box for a little bit longer too. I mean, the temperature is pretty high still. We're ticking on till 8:30 at night, and it's still 31, 32 degrees outside.
That's right. That's why you're seeing so much equipment failure. The fences are drenched with sweat, and it's just causing the masts to light up where they shouldn't do, the jackets. So that's why there've been a few delays. Probably a little bit frustrating that there's only one hit to go, and there's an equipment change. But might be a good little reset for Garozzo, just to compose himself. Only 35 seconds left of this bout. The final bout.
Why don't we talk about the French team for a little bit? Pierre Loisel here, new onto the team. I know he's probably fenced in team competitions previously, but world #1 team with a different lineup, and now they've come here. Mericlo has brought out a new team, and they have done very well.
I agree with you, Bash. We thought there would be one-way traffic. We thought, you know, in the middle of that match, it looked like there would be a 20-hit deficit, and they've just ebbed it back, especially in this last bout. And you have to say they've put up, I mean, of course they're still in it, but they put up a fantastic defence tonight against a very dominant and experienced Italian team.
Yeah, make the Italians, I mean, even if Italy go on, as we expect them to, with one hit to go, to take the gold medal here, they're going to be thinking about this French team when they go home tonight.
Absolutely, and I'm sure the coach is going to take note of this.
Mericlo flying in, dropping in, having had COVID and recovered just in time for the team event, missed the individual, but seems like he's making a difference here in Turkey. He, believe it or not, flies home tomorrow. He's literally just dropped in for this team event. That's how important it is for the French team as they prepare for their assault and qualification for their home games. Of course, they get a bunch of host nation places, but they'll be hoping to qualify all of their teams, one would imagine, without needing to use any of those host nation places.
Which means wildcards.
Which means a bunch of wild cards indeed. 8 places to the host nation and Olympic Games.
And Lurk still an on-target light, and now on the breaches, I think.
Does he get a card for this?
No, of course he doesn't. You don't get a card for this.
But he's changed his equipment, come onto the piste, and it's failed.
But I think he's tested a new piece of equipment. Has he not tested the breaches?
Ah, I see, so the jacket's now working, now he's got to change his breeches. Well, this should be interesting. I wonder where the cameras are going to point while Danny Garozzo takes his breeches
I think he's going to
off.
go around the back of the screen, isn't he?
I think he might do. He might get followed by one of the assistant referees.
And looks like the Frenchman's lighting up now as well.
He gave it a good hit there as well. Not being gentle with that touch.
No, yeah, those hurt, don't they? Give you bruises. So Lascelles also changing his jacket.
Well, drama to bring at the end of this men's team foil competition. 44 to Italy, 38 to France, and all of a sudden all the equipment started failing because of the perspiration from both of the athletes. And it probably has a little bit to do with the humidity inside here. Yes, there's been air conditioning on, but it's a massive arena here in Antalya. And, well, quite frankly, sitting in the commentary position with all these computers and screens around us is pretty steamy here too. But, well, just adding to the drama.
On comes another jacket for the Frenchman. Garozzo's gone behind the screen to change his breeches. I'll tell you what, Bash, after all this, I think it's going to be a 1 second, simultaneous one light, and the match will be over.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. Well, we take a look back over some of the action in this matchup. They're showing highlights of the earlier bouts. Tommaso Marini. Get some close-ups of some of the equipment as well. And there's Alessio Facconi against Maximilian Chastanet. The Italians have dominated throughout the match, but the French have left it to the 9th and final leg to bring all the drama.
You get the feeling there wasn't the belief from the French team. If they would restart the match now, I dare say the French team, with this momentum, could even beat the Italians, but the start was a little bit too slow, and they've left themselves a lot to do. It's Danny Garozzo putting his kit on. There's the plastron, the underarm protector.
Yeah, on the sword arm side of the body, just an extra layer of protection, because of course that's the closest to your opponent's sword arm.
Do you know why they wear the plastron, Bash?
Go on.
Well, the jackets are made out of Kevlar, but there's a weakness in the seams where the Kevlar is sewn together. So what they do is they have a little under jacket called a plastron, and that covers over the vulnerable part where the seams, where the two parts of Kevlar meet. Always a vulnerability there. So
is it still Kevlar, or is it some kind of new composite material?
As far as I knew, it was Kevlar. Do you think they've changed it?
I think it's new. When I was fencing, and maybe our eras crossed over a little bit, it was Kevlar, very heavy jackets. They found a new composite that's much lighter, but that probably doesn't assist with the sweat, because
yes,
it just seeps straight through. There's no wicking material.
If the jacket's lighter, it's going to light up a little bit quicker because there's less of it to absorb the moisture.
Exactly. But we are back underway. Italy versus France. 44 to Italy. Target score 45 for the European Championship title of 2022 in men's team foil. Garozzo versus Loisel.
There you go.
It is a single light, and Garozzo does it for the Italians. We are going to have a check of Pierre Loisel's weapon. If the light comes up now, it's all over. Garozzo's light's still on, and there it is. Confirmation that Italy have taken the men's team foil European Championship title of 2022. They've won 45-38. It was a fantastic comeback from Pierre Loisel, but Alessio Facconi, Tommaso Marini, Daniele Garozzo and Gian Bianchi are the new European